the happiness, and most of all, the love that Richard had for medicine, for learning, and the people around him. He's taught me more about achieving through his example than I could ever learn in a book or a lecture. As future medical professionals, we stand on the shoulders of giants that have come before us. I'm truly honored and humbled to know that this giant was walking among us the whole time, hiding in plain sight. Thank you, everybody. And I believe, Nicole, you had something prepared.
I miss you so much, Richard. Richard was a great student, and he worked hard. And I studied with him often, but the thing that I really most cherished about him was the person that he was as a friend. To the long talks that we would have, whether it be about our families, and whether it's about school. I remember several semesters back, my mother got sick, and Richard was there for me, and it was really difficult because I'm just now leaving that stage in life where you realize your parents are getting older, and instead of you needing your parents are now going to need you. And he told me that, and he really helped me kind of transition in that because in my 20s and early 30s, I felt like not only I was going to live forever, but my parents were going to live forever. And you know, we would sit and we would talk for long, long hours, and he would tell me, you know, this is what you should say to the doctors, and so forth, and just really, you know, really pushing me. And I really felt through that experience that not only was he pushing me to help my mother, but he was pushing me to be a better adult, to be a stronger woman. And that's something that I always appreciate about him. But there's also that lighter side of Richard. And I kept trying to think of a story to share, the banter that we would have back and forth. And I just realized that it would be totally inappropriate because that's what we did. When I think of our friendship, it was a string of irreverent comments. And it was basically two people who, on the outside, you look at them and you would think that they would have nothing in common if you were just looking at us as just two shells. But we had so much in common, and we celebrated our differences. We didn't pretend that they weren't there, and because we celebrated them, we would joke about them. I even asked Andrew earlier today, I said, you know, Andrew, can you think of something that, you know, Richard and I, our inside jokes that we used to have, can you think of something that I can say? And before I could even get the words out of my mouth, Andrew said, totally inappropriate. But I have those memories. But I do want to share some things that I'm going to miss from Richard, and what I would call Richard speak. When Richard walks up to you and he says, "Good for you," he's not complimenting you. He's not saying to you, "Good for you." No, he's being sarcastic, and he's saying that you're doing something incredibly stupid. And he's not encouraging you in his good for you. He's just has no words to say how stupid you're actually being. When you are being beyond that kind of stupid and taking it to another level, or doing something that's really insane, he would always say, "Nice, Nicole, that's real nice." Usually, that was in reference to my roommates. I've lived on the island with a few local roommates, and it's been interesting. Or, and I would get really angry, and I would say all of the things that I wanted to do to them, and he would say, "That's nice, Nicole. Like, that's really intelligent of you to maybe want to ram your roommate's head against the wall when you're a foreign national in a different country." And he would always joke with me about me cleaning my house. I love bleach. And not only do I love bleach, I love to mix bleach with every other chemical imaginable. My house is, according to him, a hazmat experiment. And whenever I would clean my house, I'd say to him, "You know, Richard, before we go out or before we're studying, hey, Richard, I'm cleaning my house," and Richard would say to me, "Oh, is that the green bubble that I can see over West Bay?" He says, "So when should I call the hazmat team?" And, it's kind of our back and forth. The other thing I will appreciate about him is his love of his family. Whenever I would study with Richard, I knew at 7 o'clock that we had to stop studying. I could stay in his house or his suite, but I usually had to get on the couch, take my books with me so that he could Skype Sue and Zoe and Kayla and have his family time with him. And through that, I really grew to respect him for his love of family, and it helped me appreciate my own family even more. And I know that Zoe just couldn't come in here and do this. And I want his family to know that all the students in this room, it's not just me. If Zoe ever needs anything, she has hundreds of students from St. Matthew's that are there to support her because we loved her father so much. And when we found out that Richard was gone, so many students would come up to me and the first thought that they had was about Zoe. And then the last thing I want to say, and speaking about how great Richard was, the morning we found out that he had passed on, a lot of students came up to me, some faculty came up to me, and I just noticed that there was this recurrent theme. And that was, so many people said to me, that night, they couldn't sleep, that they were awake for some reason. I had a few people say to me that they were upset. This was before they knew that Richard had passed on, that they were upset, they couldn't sleep, they didn't know why they were upset. And I just think that Richard's energy was so strong and so great that even though we didn't know what it was, we all could feel, many of us could feel that there was this great loss because he had left such a spiritual imprint on this university and on this island. I kind of had a similar experience. A few weeks ago, I was talking to Richard about death because it was really in relation to my own, and I had had a conversation with Michelle from the bistro. And we were sitting there talking, and I said, "Michelle, I don't know what happens when you die." Michelle said to me, "Nicole, look out over the ocean one night, and you see the cruise ships come in, and you see the cruise ships leave, and when they reach the horizon, how do you know that that cruise ship is still there when you can no longer see it beyond the horizon?" And I said, "I just know." And she said, how do you know? I said, I just know. And she said, that's how you know that no matter what, when someone passes on, that they're there, you just can't see them. So the morning I came from the hospital, I'm staying with a friend of mine from my church, and she has a condo on the lake. I went up to the patio, and ironically, there was a cruise ship coming in. And there was a cruise ship leaving just beyond the horizon. I said to Richard, I know you're there. Thank you.
First time I met Richard, I was helping him move into my old apartment in the suites, and I knew pretty much within 5 seconds that there was a lot more that we had in common than where we were about to live. First thing we talked about was our shared love of engineering, and that eventually led to him helping me pick my master track to help me pay for the school. Rich was more than a colleague to all of us. He was a person that had infinite stories and would just emulate the best possible person. And to be honest with you, Richard's a very interesting person because the more I got to know him, the least he made sense to me as an individual. I always wondered what he was doing here, to be honest with you. And I guess now I really seen everybody here. He just defines altruism perfectly. I told him one time, I was like, what are you doing here when you're pretty much more successful than every single person on this island? Like, why don't you go, I don't know, vacation in the Bahamas or just do something else? It's like, you don't need this, you know, this isn't something like that you necessitate at all, and that didn't even matter, right? Everybody in here is helped in some way or another, and that's what I think he was really about. When I was on SGA with him, the guy wasn't ever acceptable of the status quo. To help communications, he invented a Dropbox. I don't even really know what that is to this day, but I know all the current 32nd semesters remember that. And he just promoted sharing, speaking to his information technology capabilities. Not going to say a lot. Everyone knows in this room knows how amazing Richard was. To be honest, I'm not sad about it. I'm really angry because this is a tragedy. And I can't be sad because he has done everything that 5 human beings couldn't hope to amass in their own lifetime. The guy has more incredible stories and core knowledge of Earth than any other person I'd ever met before. From everything to like calculus integrations and anything to cooking. Remember one night he made this bruschetta I never even had before, and it was just incredible. And all he asked in return was that I show him how to make grape leaves, like the one thing I know how to make. All I can say, I hope he's listening, the events surrounding his death really just describe who he was as a person. He was here late studying, very hallmark feature. The guy was super studious, smart man. Next thing he does, he goes to Lakeside to help another friend out who didn't have something. He could have Skyped it, he could have done anything, but he went over there to make sure that everything went okay. And then last but not least, on his way home, he was going to drop somebody else off, and I can't say enough good things. I really hope he's listening, and just want to say thank you for everything you've helped me out with, and rest in peace.
At this time, if anyone else has prepared any words for Richard, you are welcome to speak.
Hello, I'm Jay, and I lived with Richard this year. And you know, when I got accepted to medical school, I was excited and scared, and had all those weird emotions. But imagine my surprise when I got my roommate pairing, and he was older than my father.